I'm Pauline Greenhill. I'm Professor of Women's and Gender Studies at the University of Winnipeg. I actually started looking at fairy tale films because I had a colleague here at the University of Winnipeg who's now moved on to Queen's University, Sydney Eve Matrix. And I was talking with her about teaching a folklore and gender course. And I said, I'm not sure what I can do to kind of put a little bit more interest in it. And she said, well, have you tried showing fairy tale films? And I thought, oh, well, that'd be fun. So I actually picked two fairy tale films, Snow White, A Tale of Terror, and The Juniper Tree, which is a less well-known film, but made by an American filmmaker in Iceland. And I think I also showed the very famous Jean Cocteau Beauty and the Beast. And the reaction from my students was just so fabulous. They loved it, they wanted to talk about it. So I thought, okay, well, this is really a place to go. And later I was talking with Sydney about how maybe I wanted to put together a course on fairy tale films, and she said, yeah, but there's no book. So we thought, okay, why don't we actually do a book? And that was Fairy Tale Films Visions of Ambiguity, which is actually available 100% free of charge on Digital Commons for Utah State University Press, which is the publisher. So one of the people who commented on our book and decided that it was fabulous is Jack Zeitz, who's a really well-known fairy tale scholar. And as Jack and I started talking, and then I thought, well, maybe I want to do more on fairy tale films. So I put together a research team with 5 other people, Sydney Eve, who was helping me getting the fairy tale films book and course together, my colleague Stephen Combe in criminology, who is interested with me in Little Red Riding Hood fairy tale crime films, Kat Tosenberger, who's in the English department and does work on various different things, but one of the things that she did for my project was an analysis of Hansel and Gretel pornography. And Jack, and also Christina Bakilega, who's a really super well-known, fabulous, feminist, postmodern fairy tale theorist. So as we started working along, we were thinking about what we needed to do, and one of the suggestions that Jack had was that we could try to put a filmography online of fairy tale films. When I start working with a tool like this, it's going to make it possible for me to know, for example, what films were made by female directors. We'll be able to search by individual names, so we'll be able to search women directors, women writers, and so forth. We'll be able to search through the different fairy tales, some of them quite well known, some of them not so well known. And one of the things that really interests me about fairy tale films as a feminist is that often the versions that are made by women directors and women producers and women writers are not what people might conventionally expect when they think about fairy tales. So I think that there's certainly going to be a vast amount of material for feminists and gender scholars in general to pick to once the database is a little bit more complete. It will never be fully complete though.